Right, buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to dive headfirst into the political equivalent of watching someone try to put out a house fire with a water pistol. Today's episode features our favorite political pantomime villain Nigel Farage absolutely losing his marbles over Keir Starmer's latest £100 million splurge on what he calls a migrant gang fund. And honestly, the drama is so thick you could cut it with a rusty spoon from a Dover Beach café. So picture this. You're Keir Starmer, sitting in number 10, probably sipping tea from a mug that's his world's okayest prime minister, when suddenly your advisors burst in with a brilliant idea to throw another £100 million at the small boats crisis. Because apparently, the first £800 million we chucked at France worked so spectacularly that record numbers of migrants are still crossing the channel like at a discount ferry service. But sure, let's double down on this strategy. What could possibly go wrong? Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this political car crash, let me paint you a picture of just how bonkers this situation has become. We're currently witnessing crossing numbers that are up 50% compared to last year, with over 25,000 people making the perilous journey across the channel, and that's just by this point in the year. It's like watching someone try to fix a leaky roof by adding more holes and calling it improved ventilation. But here's where it gets properly spicy. Enter Nigel Farage, stage right, with all the subtlety of a brick through a greenhouse window. The Reform UK leader has branded this whole debacle a national security crisis, and for once, you might actually find yourself nodding along. Now, I know what you're thinking. Agreeing with Farage? Have I lost my marbles? But hear me out, because even a broken clock is right twice a day, and this might just be one of those moments. Farage didn't just politely disagree with Starmer's approach. Oh no, that would be far too civilized for our Nigel. He went full nuclear, basically calling the £100 million pledge the political equivalent of trying to stop a tsunami with a beach umbrella. Writing in the Daily Express, because where else would you expect this level of diplomatic discourse? Farage unleashed what can only be described as a masterclass in political sledgehammer subtlety. This is not the first time we have seen a Labour or Conservative government throw taxpayer money at the illegal immigration crisis and hope it will go away, Farage declared. And honestly, he's got a point sharper than his favourite pint glass. The man continued his verbal demolition job, pointing out that we've already sent over £800 million to France for very little in return. That's like paying your mate Dave £800 to fix your car, and then watching him set it on fire while asking for more petrol money. Now, let's talk about what this £100 million is actually supposed to achieve, because the government's plan reads like it was written by someone who thinks you can solve climate change by buying a really big fan. The cash is apparently going to fund up to 300 more National Crime Agency officers, because clearly what we need is more people in suits looking concerned at PowerPoint presentations about smuggling routes. They are also promising new technology and equipment to step up intelligence gathering, which sounds impressive until you realize we're basically talking about buying some fancier binoculars and perhaps a few more computers that'll probably crash when someone tries to update Windows. It's like trying to solve knife crime by giving everyone really good first aid kits, technically helpful, but missing the point entirely. But wait, there's more. The government is also planning to throw money at interventions in transit countries across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. That's basically political speak for we're going to send strongly worded letters to everyone and hope they care about our feelings. It's the diplomatic equivalent of trying to stop a house party by asking the neighbours to keep it down. The Tories, meanwhile, have responded with all the grace and tact of a rhino in a china shop. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp didn't just criticize the plan. He took it round the back of the political woodshed and gave it what for. According to Philp, there's only one thing that will stop these crossings: immediate deportation upon arrival. His solution? Bring back the Rwanda scheme, because apparently what the situation needed was to add sending people to a completely different continent to the mix. Philp called Labour's approach a desperate grab for headlines and a laughable claim to smash the gangs, which is rich coming from the party that came up with the Rwanda plan in the first place. It's like watching someone criticize your cooking while simultaneously setting their own kitchen on fire. But here's where things get particularly interesting, and by interesting, I mean watch through your fingers like a horror movie levels of political car crash. The government has also announced that anyone advertising small boat crossings or fake passports on social media could face up to 5 years in prison. Because apparently, the solution to organized international crime is to send some teenagers to jail for sharing the wrong TikTok videos. Home Secretary Yvette, meanwhile, is promising a fast-track scheme to tackle the asylum backlog, aiming to turn decisions around in weeks instead of years. This is like promising to fix the NHS by asking everyone to walk it off and take 2 paracetamol. Technically, it's a plan, but you wouldn't exactly call it comprehensive. Cooper defended the government's approach with all the enthusiasm of someone trying to sell ice to Eskimos. She talked about dismantling business models and disrupting supply chains, which sounds impressive until you realize these are the same supply chains that have been operating with the efficiency of Amazon Prime while our border security operates more like Hermes on a bad day. The really delicious irony here is that Labour campaigned on a promise to smash people smuggling gangs, and so far the only thing they smash is their own credibility. It's like watching someone promise to fix your plumbing, and then flooding your entire house while asking for a 5-star review. Now, let's talk about this one-out arrangement with France, because this is where the policy gets properly bonkers. The UK will return selected small boat arrivals to France, and in exchange, we'll take an equal number of asylum seekers who have legitimate ties to the UK. It's like playing the world's most expensive game of human musical chairs, except nobody wins and taxpayers foot the bill. The fundamental problem here isn't really about the money. The £100 million is nothing to sniff at when people are struggling with heating bills. The issue is that this approach treats the symptoms while completely ignoring the disease. It's like trying to cure a cold by buying more tissues instead of taking actual medicine. Farage, for all his faults, has identified the core issue. Another £100 million here or they won't move a needle. It won't stop the boats or the gangs. And is absolutely right. These criminal networks are sophisticated international operations with profit margins that would make Apple jealous. They are not going to be deterred by the UK hiring a few more civil servants and buying some new computers. The really frustrating part is that both major parties seem to be competing in an Olympic event called Who Can Throw the Most Money at a Problem While Achieving the Least. The Conservatives had their Rwanda scheme, which cost hundreds of millions and managed to deport precisely nobody to Rwanda. Now Labour has their £100 million gang-busting fund, which is already showing all the signs of being equally effective. What we're witnessing is a political equivalent of Groundhog Day, except instead of Bill Murray learning valuable life lessons, we get politicians repeating the same failed strategies while expecting different results. It's like watching someone bang their head against a wall, and then deciding the solution is to bang harder. The tragedy in all this political point scoring is that real people are risking their lives crossing the channel in overcrowded dinghies. Criminal gangs are making obscene profits, and British taxpayers are funding an increasingly expensive game of political hot potato. Meanwhile, our politicians are more focused on landing sound bites and actually solving problems. So there you have it, folks. Another day, another £100 million, another round of political theatre where everyone gets to look concerned and nobody actually fixes anything. Farage is furious, Starmer is defensive, the Tories are opportunistic, and the boats keep coming. It's like watching a soap opera where all the characters are politicians and none of them are particularly likable. Thanks for watching UK Pancakes, and if you enjoyed this dive into political madness, make sure to hit that subscribe button because British politics shows no signs of getting any less mental anytime soon.